Hi, this is Kathy Tombaugh, and I'm very happy today to welcome Adam Gunton to the interview. He has been in recovery for a number of years and has taken his experience and now is helping others find their path to recovery and also doing a lot of interesting work in the area of prevention. So let me tell you a little bit about Adam. Adam Gunton delivers a powerful message of hope for any audience. His story of overcoming homelessness and drug addiction to becoming a seven-figure business owner, best-selling author, and coach for other recovered addicts to write and publish their stories in only 2 years motivates every audience that hears him speak to take massive, decisive action in their own lives. His compassion for the difficult times in life, coupled with his passionate delivery to overcome these times to become the person you have always wanted to be, is what makes his message so powerful for the audience that he serves. With confidence in his belief that anyone, anywhere, at any time can change their life in an instant with decision and action, he drives home practical steps for any audience to take immediately to change the course of their life forever. So welcome, Adam. So I'm so excited to welcome Adam Gunton to our interview today. And Adam is in recovery and a role model for people that are trying to go down this path. So Adam, welcome, and please introduce yourself to those that don't know you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Love doing interviews like this and just spreading the hope out there. So that's basically who I am. 3.5 years ago, just over 3.5 years ago, I was homeless. I was addicted to heroin, meth, crack, all the bad stuff. And the thing is that my life started like an all-American boy. I went to I was in the Little League sports teams that won state every year. We won nationals 1 year for football. I was a home run derby hitter of the Little League World Series in 8th grade. Went to Columbine High School, and I was the defensive captain of our state championship football team my senior year. But I had this hidden drug habit the whole time that I didn't recognize where it was taking me. I had no idea. I never had somebody really have a conversation with me about drugs and alcohol and where it leads. So that's how I found myself, 8, 9 years later, homeless, kicked out of a homeless shelter, and unable to stop using those drugs. And now in my recovery, for my 2 years clean and sober, I was able to write and publish my testimony into a book that has gotten in the hands of thousands of people. And I've had a lot of people from all over the world reach out to me that have either had a family member send it to them or they got it themselves. They found it real randomly. I even had someone hit me up when he got out of jail, and he told me that that his brother sent it to him in jail. He ended up finding Jesus, praying to Jesus in jail after reading my book, and then gave the book to someone else in his pod. And by the time he left, all 36 people in his pod had read my book. And so with that, my story isn't the one that I think is going to impact every single person out there. And what I believe is that people that recover have to get their stories out. We have to do this to give hope. So since then, I've actually been helping and coaching and training other people in recovery to write and publish their books. And that's one of the 3-step process of my program for Recovered on Purpose. It's write, speak, serve. Write your story so that you can speak your story, and then serve your story in schools so that we can let the kids know that they, where this goes, where this actually leads. Because I believe if me now would have gone to me at 13, 14 and spoke, I believe I could have stopped myself. So that's who I am now. That's what everything I do now is with the end vision in mind of stopping the future generations from going down the path of addiction.
That's amazing, and it's so needed. I mean, I am too I was a former educator. I'm a big proponent of bringing awareness and prevention in the schools. I think that's a huge missing link. So wonderful that you're doing that. So what do you think, Adam, brought you? You mentioned you were doing all the right things in school, but then you turned to drugs and you had this problem in the background. So what brought you? Was it a trauma? What was it, do you think, going on for you that made you feel like, I need to turn to something to help me get through this?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because it's about 66% of addicts they experience some kind of really, really heavy childhood trauma. And when I look back, I don't the Columbine high school shooting was incredibly impactful for the entire community. I was in fourth grade. I remember when they started lining us up at recess, and everybody was scared, and they were like shoveling us into the school and locking the school down, because I was right down the street from the high school. But I don't remember that causing me to start looking for a way out. I don't think that trauma was what caused me to start using. What I believe actually did it for me was bad influence. I had two incredibly bad influences in my life early on, 11, 12, 13 years old. By the time I was 13, I was at least weekly using drugs like Percocets and cocaine, and drinking every week. And that's not okay. And then I was hiding this while I was playing these sports, and I was the leader on these sports, right? So I had these bad influences in the background. And I don't think that it was a trauma for me. I believe it was bad influence. And that's part of, I believe that we have to watch who our young people are surrounding themselves with also. We as adults learn we are the sum average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, and we begin to select our circle. As kids, oftentimes we want to fit in. Oftentimes we want to listen to that person. So I believe that it was bad influence at that time. And I don't blame others. I don't blame those people, because I made the choice even though I was young, but I believe that I should have made better choices with my influence.
Good point. Yeah, that is, yeah. And I think that's a big one for parents to think about too, who the kids are. And it's so hard, I know, as parents, to try to rein these kids in, and you can't see this person, you can't see that person. But that's a great point. And interesting, you mentioned the Columbine. I have a parent recently I was talking to, and their son was has an issue with drugs, but he was not in the, I mean, he wasn't a victim of the Parkland. I mean, he didn't get shot or anything, but he was just part of it. And what a good point that I think you made is, sometimes in these shootings, you're not in the middle of it. You're really exactly physically affected, but psychologically, it has a big impact. I think more than we've ever really realized. People realize that these kids that are in these shootings are part of the school. I think he was a freshman at the time, and you were in fourth grade, right down the street, and just all that. That so interesting. Okay, so yeah, so peer pressure is big, and that's huge. Thanks for that. That's really helpful. Okay, so what do you think was the turning point for you for change? What made you come to the decision? Maybe what was your darkest point when you finally said, oh, I can't take this anymore, and then you decided to move forward?
Yeah. During that time, I was using those drugs, right, in the background, and I thought I was being influenced. I was having fun. I was partying. But then when I was 19, I actually had a traumatic experience. I'd been out partying and drinking all night, like I did every night of my freshman year of college, and I was sleeping, and I woke up at 4:47 a.m. to my best friend Chucker calling me. And I remember having the conscious choice that I could either answer the way I always do with, "Hey, what's up, Chuck?" or I could answer the way I was feeling with, "Hello." And for some reason in my drunken state, I chose the latter. I said, "Hello." And he said, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "Why are you calling me this late?" I said, I was just calling to say hi. "Don't call me this late again." And I hung up on him, and he shot himself.
Oh, no.
And after that, I was unable to tell anybody about that phone call for 8 years. 8 years of my life, I bottled that down deeper and deeper and deeper with drugs and alcohol. And after that trauma, the only thing I knew about to turn to was these drugs I was partying with to make me feel better. I remember specifically starting to seek out drugs to cope with life, starting to seek out drugs to cope with emotions, and to get that support that I felt that I needed, right? So there were 2 points. There was bad influence, and then just the fact that I was using drugs, because everybody goes through trauma in life. Everybody goes through some kind of trauma in life, and we have to have the coping mechanisms to do that. And when we start talking about what the turning point was, right? And when I actually started wanting to stop, for me, it was years of wanting to stop. It was years of having a bag of heroin and throwing it down the toilet at night, going to sleep, waking up in the morning, and having to go to the dope man after I just threw it away. You could have strapped me up with a lie detector test the night before. I am never going to use again, ever. And the thing was, is I had to use it in the morning. So during this time, I was seeking something to help. I wanted to stop so bad, over and over and over and over, but my life just like continued to get worse. I can't really look at a time, like there wasn't really like a rock bottom for me either, because I thought it was rock bottom when I was in this apartment. I had just lost all my friends because they found out I was a heroin addict. And so I got ostracized from this group. So I'm writing a little suicide note on my iPad, trying to shoot up to kill myself and waking up in the morning. I thought that was rock bottom. And then I find myself, on probation, on felony probation, being found dead behind the wheel of a car by the police. Like, I thought that was rock bottom. And then I end up in a homeless shelter. And I remember looking around like, all right, I can only go up from here. And then I got 86th from a homeless shelter. So there is no rock bottom. And that's what I tell people, like, wherever you're at right now is the time. It's now. And my turning point was when I gave up. Because I was trying for so long. I was trying all these different avenues. I did everything, all the different anonymous meetings. I did church Bible studies. I even tried mixed martial arts to get clean. I tried everything. But it got to a point where I literally just asked God to let me die. Like, I knew I couldn't kill myself. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. But I was done. I quit. I gave up. Like, please just take me. And he whispered to me and he said, it's time, go.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Yeah, I like the idea. And thank you for saying, don't wait to hit your rock bottom, because I think we tell parents that too. You can definitely intervene and try to help. And kids we don't want them to try to go for their rock bottom. So, that's a harrowing story. I know, I feel for you. There's so many hard parts to this. There really is. So, okay. So I work a lot with families, mainly parents, and even more specifically, lots of times starting with the moms, and then we go from there. So what help did your family give, or how did they cope with this? Were they able to help you? Were they felt like they needed to let go, or what, how did that work for you?
Yeah, I love my family. My family has always supported me through everything. But it got to a point that they couldn't. Like, there was nothing they could do. And it was almost, and I ran away from them. I didn't want to hear from them anymore. I threw a phone away, just so they wouldn't even have my phone number, because I didn't want them to watch me die. That's how bad it got for me. My sister literally had to basically write me off. And my sister's my best friend now. I was just over at her house last night, giving my nephew his first truck for his second birthday. Got him a little Tonka thing that can actually drive.
Mm-hmm.
But my family was always there. I could have reached out to them, but there was nothing they could do. I believe there was something, and this is not saying they should have, or they had the ability to, or they had the knowledge to at the time, but there was absolutely an intervention that could have happened in my teen years. And I say that my mom would do anything for me. My dad would literally do anything for me. I think that there's a lot of missing knowledge for parents about where this goes also, and the power that they have. At a certain point, when my parents got divorced, I think it almost went from parenting to almost friendship a little bit, to where I was kind of free running. Um, but I think, you know, there comes a time when, you know, if you have the knowledge and someone's suffering and the kid's suffering, there's a hammer that needs to come down, you know, because we only have a certain amount of time with kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's very true. And I think what you mentioned too is so many parents, they don't know what to do. You know, they find their kids in their situation and it's really hard to know, what do I do next? How do I solve this? So we kind of shove it a lot of times for a while because, you know, we really don't have the answers. So
Right.
good. Okay. So tell us about Recovered on Purpose. And you mentioned your book. So tell us a little bit about that. But you mentioned a little bit about the work you're doing, but if you can give us a little bit more information about what your program does and how it can help families or other people that are struggling, or prevention. It sounds like you're dealing, you know, interested in prevention too. So, which is
Yeah,
great.
absolutely. So my book, I just had this this God moment at this conference in 2019 on September 28th. That he just told me, he literally whispered to me the first night, your new company is called Recovered on Purpose. And then since then, he's been giving me seed after seed after seed. And from September 28th to November 6th of 2019, I wrote and published my book. So it was about 5 weeks I had to write and publish my entire book. And during that, I had to create a system. I had to come up with something that would make it so that this could be duplicatable, because it really isn't that hard or difficult to write and publish a book. Everybody puts this huge thing on it, but especially an addict. Like every single one of us has a story. My story will absolutely impact a certain sect of people. There's people that have gone through incredible traumas that I cannot relate to, that don't necessarily relate to my story. Those kinds of stories are the ones that need to get out so that other people find hope. And that's why I started helping people to write and publish their books in recovery also. And there's 3 out right now that all have different stories, different backgrounds and things. And those books are getting out to thousands of people, right? And with those books, and the reason why I say write, speak, serve, is because I have 17 stories, short stories in my book. Every single one of those, I can speak in vivid detail at any point, at any conference, in any school, on any podcast, at any time, because I've written it and gotten it out. So as I teach them and coach them how to write their book, they're literally already becoming speakers through that process. And then and once you write and publish your book, then you have this new identity. You're no longer just a recovering addict. I refuse to be a recovering addict and having that be my identity for the rest of my life. I'm recovered, I'm on purpose, I'm passionate, and I'm out to help and serve now. So the point of it is, like, once they write their book and they start speaking, and then they get good at this, they start doing podcasts, they start doing lives on social media, they start getting their story out. And then there's an actual formula that we have to use for kids, because you have to like impact them right away. So I start off with a story that either shocks them or makes them laugh, or something that will really get them in the moment. And then you start attaching where you were at their point, right? So there's specific stories that you start talking to the kids about. And so the whole point of Recovered on Purpose is I want to have a recovered addict speaking in every public school in America every year. By the time, because that's the only way, that we can't leave kids behind. There's plenty of schools and there's plenty of speakers doing things like this, but I'm not going to speak to 100,000 schools. How am I going to do that? Mm-hmm. We need a movement, and that's what Recovered on Purpose is. It's a movement that's raising up an army of recovered addicts to deter the future generations from going down the path of addiction in every way we can.
I love that. It's great. That is and it's so needed, totally. I think parents, I think schools, and like I said, I was an educator, and I think we get so involved in our little, our academics and our math and And when I was talking I remember a kid at our high school, we get a little drug education in health class freshman year. I said, well, what do you get after that? Well, nothing. So that's wonderful that you're doing this. You know, I really appreciate it. So great. I'm happy to share this information. So Adam, thank you so much for joining us and sharing what you're doing, and congratulations on your recovery and that you are turning this around and helping others from your experience. It's really gratifying to know that you're on this path. So thank you for stopping by and sharing, you know, your information with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.